Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today. When he reaches out after all that silence, after leaving you hanging, after making you question your worth, that is not your cue to jump. That is your cue to think. Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by telling you this plain and clear. The very first thing you got to do when he reaches out after all that silence is to stay calm. You cannot, and I repeat, cannot let your emotions run the show in that moment. Because, see, emotions will have you texting back too fast, picking up that phone before you even thought about what's really best for you. Emotions will have you forgetting all those nights you cried, all those days you waited, wondering why he disappeared. And now, just because his name popped up on your screen, your heart want to act like nothing happened. But you can't let it do that to you. You got to breathe, you got to pause, you got to get still, because that message, that call, it's just a test. It's a test to see if you learned your worth while he was gone. It's a test to see if you're going to let history repeat itself or if you're finally ready to choose peace over chaos. And you can't pass that test if you're reacting with your feelings first. So you pass that test when you respond from a place of calm, a place of strength, a place where your self-respect speaks louder than your excitement. Now, I know, ladies, I know. It feels good when he finally reaches out. It feels like relief, like maybe your prayers got answered. You start thinking, well, maybe he missed me. Maybe he finally realized I was the one. But slow down. Don't let your mind write a love story before you even know why he called. Because sometimes people come back not because they value you, but because they see you moved on. They see you shining without them. And they just want to check if they still have access to you. And you got to stay calm enough to see that difference. You can't let excitement make decisions for you. Excitement is temporary. But your peace is priceless. So when you see that message, I want you to look at it and then put the phone down. Go take a walk. Go call your best friend. Go pray. Go journal. Do anything but react right away. Give yourself time to let the initial rush settle. Because once your heart calms down, your mind gets clearer. And when your mind is clear, you make choices that protect your heart instead of breaking it again. Ladies and gentlemen, I've seen too many people fall into the same trap because they answer too fast, because they let that little spark of hope override the truth they already knew. Don't be one of them. You are not desperate. You are not waiting on somebody to validate you. You are whole right now, whether he calls or not. And when you stay calm, you send a message, not just to him, but to yourself, that your feelings are important, but your peace is sacred. So when he reaches out, let him wait. Let him feel the silence for once. You felt it long enough. Now it's his turn. And in that silence, you get to decide, do I even want to open this door again? Is this man worth disturbing my peace for? But you can only ask those powerful questions when you are calm, because calmness is where your power lives. That's where your wisdom lives. That's where the real version of you, the strong, smart, self-respecting version, makes her decisions. So stay calm, Queen. Let the world spin, let the phone ring, let the text come in, but you stay still, because that stillness, that's your strength. And strength is exactly what you need when the past comes knocking. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's get real about something that most people skip right over. When he reaches out after being silent, you can't just focus on the fact that he called. You've got to look deeper. You've got to assess his true intentions. Because not every "hey, how you been" is a genuine attempt to make things right. Sometimes it's just a habit. Sometimes it's loneliness. And sometimes it's a test to see if he still has that same power over you. And if you're not careful, you'll fall for the words instead of checking the motive. Now, hear me when I say this. Men, just like anybody else, reach out for all kinds of reasons. Maybe things didn't work out with someone else. Maybe he's bored. Maybe he had a moment of weakness. And yeah, maybe he really did realize he messed up and he wants to fix things. But you will never know which one it is if you're only listening to the sweet words and not paying attention to the actions and the time. You got to ask yourself, why now? Why after all this time? What does he really want from me? Is he looking for comfort or is he looking for commitment? Is he trying to ease his own guilt? Or is he ready to take responsibility for the pain he caused? See, when you start asking these questions, you take your power back. Because now you're not just reacting, you're analyzing. And a queen analyzes. A queen observes. She doesn't jump at every knock on the door. She looks through the peephole first. And you, my sister, got to do the same with your heart. You got to look through the peephole of his actions. Has he shown any sign of real change, or is he just repeating the same cycle? Is he consistent, or is this just a random message that came through on a lonely night? And let me tell you, actions will always tell on a person. If his intention is real, he will show consistency. He will be patient if you take time to respond. He will make the effort to meet you where you are emotionally. But if he gets upset when you don't reply quick, or if he starts pulling back the moment you ask real questions, that's your sign. That's your sign that his intention ain't deep, it's surface level. And you deserve more than surface love. Ladies and gentlemen, it's easy to get distracted by words, especially when you've been waiting to hear from him, but don't let your ears blind your eyes. Look at the pattern. Look at the history. Look at whether his words are followed by respectful, consistent, meaningful actions. Is he ready to apologize without making excuses? Is he asking about your feelings and your needs, or is he only talking about his own? Is he focused on building trust back, or is he just trying to get back to where things left off without doing the work? This is how you assess intention. You listen with your spirit, not just your heart. You check the energy behind the words. Does it feel peaceful, or does it feel rushed? Does it feel sincere, or does it feel like manipulation? And don't you ever ignore those little red flags that show up early, because those red flags are whispers from your future self saying, pay attention now so you don't cry later. So the next time he pops back up after all that silence, you owe it to yourself to slow down and really assess, what is he really here for? Is it love, or is it convenience? Is it growth, or is it comfort? And until you have a clear answer, you have no obligation to open your heart back up. Not until his intention matches your worth, because your worth is not negotiable and it deserves real effort, not empty words. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get something straight right now. When he comes back after disappearing, the first thing that should stand tall in that moment is not your feelings, not your memories, but your self-respect and your boundaries. Because your self-respect is the guard at the gate. It's the voice that reminds you, I am worthy, whether he stays or goes. And your boundaries, that's the fence that protects your peace. Without those two things, you'll end up giving too much, too fast to someone who may not deserve that privilege anymore. I see too many people, especially when they've been waiting for someone to reach out, forget all about their standards the moment that call comes in. The door that was locked tight suddenly swings wide open, no questions asked. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you end up in the same cycle of pain again. Because people will only treat you as well as you require them to. If you make it easy for someone to come and go as they please, they'll keep doing just that. But when you stand firm on your self-respect, when you let your boundaries speak louder than your loneliness, that's when the game changes. Self-respect means you don't let someone's return make you forget their absence. It means you don't let sweet words today make you forget the silence from yesterday. It's knowing that you are not desperate for anyone's love. You desire love, yes, but you are not so hungry for attention that you will accept crumbs. Self-respect is walking in the truth that you are enough right now without anyone else's validation. And boundaries are not about punishing people. They're about protecting yourself. They are the rules you set for how people get to treat you. So when he reaches out, your boundaries should kick in strong. Maybe you decide you're not going to answer right away. Maybe you choose to only communicate during certain times. Maybe you decide that before any real conversation happens, you need to hear a real apology, not just casual small talk, and you stick to that. Because every time you bend your boundaries just to keep someone around, a little piece of your self-worth gets chipped away. And I don't want that for you. You deserve to feel whole, not hollow. Now, let me tell you something. A person who truly cares about you will respect your boundaries. If he gets upset because you're not rushing back into his arms, that's your sign right there that he's not serious. Real love honors your need for space, your need for time, your need for clarity. It doesn't pressure you, it doesn't guilt you, and it doesn't make you feel like you're doing something wrong by protecting your peace. Ladies and gentlemen, you have every right to require more than just a random text. You have every right to say, if you want access to me again, you have to come correct. You have to show consistency. You have to rebuild what was broken. That's not being difficult. That's knowing your worth. And if someone truly wants you in their life, they will rise to meet those standards. If they can't, then let them go. Because lowering your standards to keep someone is the fastest way to lose yourself. So when that message pops up and your heart starts racing, pause and remember, your self-respect is not for sale. Your peace is not a bargain. And your boundaries are there to keep your heart safe, not to keep love out. So hold your head high, stand firm, and let the world and anyone from your past know that access to you is earned, not given away for free. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you one of the most powerful moves you can make when he finally reaches out after all that silence. Take your time before you respond. Don't rush. Don't let the excitement, the surprise, or even the anger push you into reacting right away. Because the truth is, your first impulse is usually your feelings talking, not your wisdom. And in moments like this, you don't want to move with emotion. You want to move with intention. See, when you rush to reply, you're giving away your power. You're letting him know that no matter how long he disappears, he can come back and get your attention in an instant. And that right there sets the tone for how the whole interaction will go. If he learns that you'll drop everything just because he texted, then he doesn't have to put in real effort. He knows he still has easy access to you. But when you take your time, when you create space before you respond, you shift the energy. You show that your life doesn't stop just because he decided to pop back up. And that's a powerful message to send without saying a word. Taking time gives you the chance to check in with yourself first. Ask yourself, how do I really feel about hearing from him? Am I ready to have this conversation? Or do I need more time to process? What do I want out of this exchange? And what am I not willing to tolerate? You can't answer those questions clearly if you're rushing. You need that pause, that quiet moment to let your mind and your heart catch up with each other. Because sometimes the first thing you want to do is send a long message full of feelings, but later when you've calmed down, you realize you'd rather keep it short, firm, and focused. And that difference only shows up when you give yourself time. Ladies and gentlemen, don't underestimate the power of silence. Just because he broke his silence doesn't mean you have to break yours right away. Your silence can speak volumes. It can show that you're not sitting by the phone waiting. It can make him reflect on how his absence affected you. And most importantly, it gives you the upper hand to decide when and how you want to engage, if at all. Now, I know it's tempting. I know that little voice inside wants to believe that maybe this time will be different, that maybe this is the moment you've been waiting for. And that's exactly why you have to pause. Because hope is beautiful, but hope without wisdom can lead you right back into heartbreak. Taking time to respond protects you from acting on temporary feelings and helps you make decisions that honor your long-term peace. Let me tell you something else. If his intentions are real, if his feelings are genuine, he will still be there when you're ready to reply. A man who truly wants to make things right won't vanish just because you didn't text back in 5 minutes. In fact, your patience will filter out the ones who are only there for convenience. If he gets frustrated or starts playing games because you took your time, that tells you everything you need to know about his maturity and sincerity. But if he respects your pace, if he stays consistent without pressuring you, that's a sign he might actually be serious this time. So ladies and gentlemen, take your time like your peace depends on it, because it does. Respond when you feel ready, when your mind is clear and your emotions are calm. Let your timing show that you're not desperate, you're deliberate, because the one who values you will wait, but the one who only wanted quick attention will fade. And trust me, you want to respond to the one who's still standing when your silence ends, not the one who only knocked once and ran away. Ladies and gentlemen, when he finally reaches out after that long silence, you have every right to be cautious. Because here's the truth. Not every conversation deserves your time, and not every message should get your energy. This is the moment where you have to make sure that any conversation you choose to have with him aligns with your standards. And when I say standards, I'm not talking about a wish list of nice things. I'm talking about the non-negotiables you set for how people are allowed to treat you, speak to you, and enter your life. See, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of hearing from someone you once cared about. It's easy to let that first sweet message make you forget everything you promised yourself during the silence. But your standards are there to protect you from slipping back into situations that don't serve you. They're like a mirror you hold up to every interaction, asking, does this reflect what I deserve? And if the answer is no, you owe it to yourself to step back. So when he reaches out, listen carefully, not just to his words, but to the deeper meaning behind them. Is he offering real accountability for his past behavior, or is he just trying to slide back into your life like nothing happened? Is he showing that he respects your feelings and your boundaries, or is he testing to see how much he can get away with? Is he communicating with consistency and clarity, or is it still that same pattern of mixed signals and confusion? So when that message pops up and those old feelings start knocking on your heart, take a deep breath. Feel the feelings, but don't feed them. Remind yourself of who you've become during the silence, of the peace you've built, of the standards you've set. And from that grounded, centered place, make your next move. Because the real flex is not just getting him to reach out. It's showing that you are no longer controlled by the emotions that used to run your life. That's emotional maturity, and that's where your true power lies.